Hello and welcome to the Game Corner, where we're talking this time about the thing that it's actually kind of an odd thing that we're talking about. It's non-gamers on a video game podcast. I'm Nick Jerzak.
I'm Eric Jaworski.
And I'm Connor Jordan.
And you know what, guys? We've got a lot of people who are... Actually, not a lot of people. We've got two people who are going to do on Skype interviews with us, and then we've got a bunch that I've got from text message and Facebook message and everything like that, and we're going to reply to what they've said. And you know what? We can offer these guys some advice if they want to get into gaming.
Fair enough.
Sounds good. Also, I just love how Bush League you make it sound. We've got a lot of people. Well, not a lot of people.
You know what?
We got a lot. Well, I don't know. We got enough for at least to talk with people.
See,
it's a number.
It was difficult to find people who weren't busy, and this is a busy time for everybody that we've been trying to get. So,
Yeah, this is true.
anyway, I am going to see who we can get online. And we can start the podcast. I think the first one we're going to do is with a girl here. Wait, where is she?
It's the girl. Okay.
Here we go. 1 second. We are about to add her in. Okay, we've got Makeda Reynolds on the line here from the Chicago area. And how you doing, Makeda?
I'm good. How are you?
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyway, you would identify yourself as a non-gamer, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So why don't you play games?
Simple question.
I suppose part of the reason is they give me headaches, but the other reason is that I'm not interested anymore. Everything seems to be one-person shooters, and I'm just not about it.
So you have played video games before, it sounds like.
Yeah.
What games have you played?
Kingdom Hearts,
Ooh, good
That's
stuff.
a good one.
a lot of racing things, Tomb Raider games, Final Fantasy.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, and it I was really curious why, it seems like some gamers, they dedicate to the craft, while, some are just only for a particular genre, and as you said, you are definitely not into the first person shooters, it sounds like, right?
Yeah, no, not at all.
Anyway, that begs the question: what would get you interested in gaming again?
I suppose if culturally speaking, I feel like if that changed, I'd feel better.
Oh, the whole Gamergate phenomena.
I mean, like that, and just the whole deal of getting cussed out on Xbox Live.
Well, that is something that is definitely a thing, but just most gamers that I've met, aside from the 13-year-olds you'll run into on Xbox Live,
On
most
Call
of them
Duty.
are really, yeah.
Yeah.
Most of the people you run into are guys like us. We're non-threatening. We'll talk shit, but there is, I feel like, a skewed perception that there are more of the screamy children or trolls than there necessarily are. But
Or that's probably just funnier to watch or listen to or read about.
some people get get a lot of entertainment value out of that sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see it.
I don't know, would also possibly, games that you would play with your friends be a considered thing? Because I know, how some people that are non-gamers, they don't play games that often, but they would play, some party game, whether it's, Guitar Hero or Super Smash Bros. Or...
Yeah, is it more like a social thing, or would you be more interested in, storytelling or art in gaming?
Storytelling and art for sure. I loved BioShock.
Of course.
Yeah.
But that it actually made me care more to have that extra in there.
It's surprising to me how many games really do have a lot of storytelling depth to them, and I guess we'll talk about that more when we get to the recommendations phase of this. But there are definitely games that are very storytelling focused that aren't first person shooters, like the Telltale games, for example, where if you play like the sort of point and click adventure games from like the 90s or so, that'd be very familiar.
Sounds familiar. I'm not quite sure.
Well, before we go ahead and give you suggestions on games that you might like, what are some games that you would think that you would want to try or that you would play if you were a gamer?
What's that one that's set in quote unquote Chicago?
Watch Dogs?
Yeah, that.
Oh God, no, that was awful.
I mean, it was a cool concept, to be honest, where it's like you are roaming in Chicago, but there are so many things that are altered. Like the Sears Tower is not even called the Willis Tower; it's called, well, actually no, probably it's called the Willis Tower. But no, like how like different landmarks are skewed, and then not to mention it's just like sort of repetitive gaming, and not to mention the storytelling is definitely down. It's definitely down.
Setting a
Of, like being able to just like hack into people's stuff and like alter things that way.
But
It is a cool concept,
cool.
yes.
even things like that get a little bit old after a little while you're playing the game. It's kind of disheartening.
That is
Unfortunately, I know it was the biggest
but
flop.
so that idea of interactivity is kind of appealing. Though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, well, I think we've probably all got an idea of a game that we could suggest to you, Makeda, if you ever got into it.
Okay.
Which is, and for me personally, I'm going to suggest the Mass Effect series, just going from Mass Effect 1 to Mass Effect 2 to Mass Effect 3, because all of your decisions that you make throughout all three games affect the very end of the game.
Oh, kind of like what is that, Catherine?
I think so, kind of.
Except on a multi-game series. Like, for example, if you have a character with you in the first game and that character dies, they won't show up in the second game, despite there being a bunch of story stuff to play through if they are there.
And of course, if you do let them live in the first game, and yeah, there's like new story opportunities that you did not explore or could not explore in the other games.
Cool.
Connor, do you want to do one?
I'm going to go with, since you mentioned Final Fantasy and Kingdom Hearts, I'm going to go the JRPG route and recommend the Persona 4, which is, it plays a lot like one of the Final Fantasy games where you're going around on the map and you encounter battles like that. It's a very familiar gameplay, but the writing and storytelling is actually amazing.
I've heard a lot of good things.
Yeah, they throw you into this very intriguing mystery from the start, and it's interesting to me because it's one of the very few times I feel like in video gaming or in anything, you know how when you're watching a movie and they run into teenagers, they're like the teenage stereotype instead of actual people?
Yeah.
This is not that. They actually have their personalities, and like a way of progressing in the story is finding out more about these characters. So if you're looking for narrative and storytelling, something that really gets you connected to the heart of a game, then I think Persona 4 would be something you'd really like.
I'm still trying to think of some games, but I don't know, one game that I'm thinking the most, which there are a lot of like first-person shooters, and especially when you think of first-person shooters, you're thinking about war games. But one sort of game that takes place during World War I that really hits me is Valiant Hearts: The Great War, and it's sort of like an interesting like clip art take as you're like a character experiencing World War I. And there is like a lot of like emotion that is brought through the characters, not even talking, but just like the interaction, the music, and it's a simple like side scroller with puzzles in it, and it's really fun. But are you into zombies at all? There's might be another one I might recommend.
I do like zombies.
Have you ever heard of Last of Us?
Oh,
Oh my God.
that's good shit.
So this is also another interesting, like it's a very cinematic sort of video game, where it definitely puts a lot of twists in the story, a lot of beautiful character development, I would definitely say, between the relationship between the two characters, Joel and Ellie. And not to mention, it is sort of like intense in its fighting. But again, there's just a
Oh,
lot
God.
of quiet moments
I
that I,
will-
enjoy myself.
There's so much good interaction between the two main characters, and it's this great narrative about a guy sort of getting back his soul after doing anything and everything to survive. But I love this game. For one of the gameplay aspects I love about it is, in all those first-person shooter games, you go around the corner and you're like, okay, there's 20 dudes, no problem.
Take them
Playing-
out.
You're playing Last of Us. It's like, oh fuck, there's 3 of them.
You got to be
Shit.
resourceful. It's difficult. Sometimes you might want to take the sneaking approach versus the physical approach, and sometimes each one wins, but each one has their consequences.
Yeah.
And though it doesn't really affect the story at all, but it's just like an amazing adventure and experience to see what these two characters go through. That's what I just gotta say about that.
What system is it on?
PlayStation 3 and 4.
So yeah, it is unfortunately exclusive to the PlayStation console.
Okay.
I know. Well, maybe just see gameplays of it.
I only still have a PS2.
Then you could get Persona 4.
You could get Persona.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us on the show here, Makeda.
Thank
No
you.
problem.
Yeah, good to have you.
Thanks for having me.
Of course.
All right. Okay, so we heard from Makeda, guys. The next person that we've got is her name. She wants to go by Dallas this time around. So let's see if I can get her on. Oops, not what I wanted to do. Okay, that route did not work.
Yeah, you put me on mute.
No, I put you on like hold or something.
Yeah, you did. Okay, well, still.
Is Connor there?
For a second.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So who's this?
Her name is, because she's got her own podcast that she wants to do. Her name is Dallas.
Dallas. It's like the city.
Yeah, like the city, except she's not online yet. I don't know what's up there. So let me find out what's going on there, and in the meantime, let me go ahead and read you some of the interviews that we got from earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Hang on a second. I can't do 2 things at once. I'm not multitasking.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I don't know. Can I tell a story about at least what I think for non-gamers is particularly parents, if that's possible?
Go for it.
So I don't know. I'm just taking the perspective of my parents, where I'm thinking about their gaming, where they were able to give me like an N64 when I was young, and maybe played some games like Super Smash Karts or whatever. But
Super Smash Kart. Did you just smash up Super Smash Bros. And Mario Kart?
I mean, that would be an awesome mix. But yeah, Mario Kart, I meant to say. But how for like a number of years, they never really played any of the games I play, like whether it was on the PS2 or N64, it was just me playing it. But there was only like one time where they actually took initiative in getting a game system where I remember we were on a cruise and they finally tried out the Wii.
Yeah.
And like, they were trying out, they were having fun doing the bowling, the tennis, and it's like, oh my god, this is so much fun that they actually went out to buy a Wii for the family to play.
Wii Bowling is way better as a game than it has any right to be.
Yeah. But it was kind of like funny that it was like that their initiative, like, oh, we're going to be playing this all the time, and they also had that like Wii Fit thing, so they're excited to try to play the games. But
And is it just collecting dust now?
It literally is. Like, sure enough, I played some games here and there, but it's like I was more of an Xbox 360 person,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it was just kind of weird that they sort of just dropped that off the planet for me to like play, which I ignored.
I have my theory as to why, because I had the same thing happen. My theory is the Wii is a console based around a gimmick, which is it's based like the Wii's selling power is the novelty of motion controls. So when that gets old, when someone tires of the motion controls, when that stops being the cool, interesting thing, then it becomes unnecessary effort to play a game that, generally speaking, is graphically and narratively less impressive than some of the stuff you're playing on other consoles.
And I also think like the reason why the Wii was so successful, not only because of the motion, technology, which was amazing, but how the brand itself, how Wii and not Microsoft, Nintendo is family friendly. And again, you got these simple games, these mini games that anyone can play with, whether you're 5 years old to 40 years old.
Oh, yeah, it's
Just
a very
all the simple
casual focused approach. Yeah.
Exactly, and that definitely is what sold it.
Oh,
Well,
no doubt.
but it's kind of funny how,
I'm saying, though, that's why it had that very short run.
yeah.
Why
but-
people sort of put it aside pretty quickly.
But then it sort of evolved where I'm going into my next story where this sort of situation occurred again with when I had an Xbox 360 and when the Kinect came out.
Oh, God.
My parents went out to get that, and kind of like that similar approach where it's like, oh God, this is so much fun. You could almost do like sports activities just like in the Wii, but without a controller. And in fact, you could do dancing with it too. And again, they had so much fun with it, but then after a while, just they kind of forgot about it. And I was just like, okay, I guess I'm just going to be playing maybe some Kinect games, but I'm still going to be playing regular stuff. The only person that really took an effort to even learn how to turn on my Xbox 360 console was my cousin from Germany, who was staying at my parents' place. Can you teach me how to turn this on? It's like, okay, here you go. It's like, okay.
Hey, okay, so we got Dallas.
Hello,
Hi.
Hi.
Dallas. Are you in Dallas?
No, I'm not in Dallas. I'm in New York, actually.
Okay.
Ah.
That'd be cool, though.
Yeah, no, that'll definitely be fun.
Okay, so we're gonna have to return to your story in a second there, Eric.
It was basically over, but continue.
Anyway, Dallas, you identify as a non-gamer.
Yeah.
So why don't you game?
Well, I used to actually, which is the funny part. I used to actually love video games. I was really into them. It started out with I used to play Parappa the Rapper a lot. I don't know if any of you guys remember that game.
I do.
Some snippets of it.
Kick,
Yeah.
punch, it's all in the mind.
Yes, it was awesome. So that was the first game I remember playing when I was a kid. And then as I got a little older, I was really into strategy games like Tetris, and there was this one cube game I used to always play on the PlayStation. And then I was in a Grand Theft Auto for a while, but I don't know, I kind of lost interest in it.
What other interests did you find to sort of take over?
Neopets? I don't really play that much anymore, but I really love Neopets.
So it was just a fad thing that came, and then you found another. And what happened after Neopets?
After Neopets, I think adulthood. I just got too old to play them anymore. But I think one of my big problems is so many video games they're just so violent, and I'm a hippie, and I'm peace, love. So it's hard to find a good game nowadays. I feel that doesn't have a really. It's not action or super violent based.
Yeah.
I like strategy games or silly games. And those don't really exist. Oh, I used to play a beach volleyball game a lot on PlayStation, but
Really?
yeah. Yeah, you don't see those a lot anymore.
No, I don't.
So, what would get you interested in gaming again? You said that the one aspect that really got you out of it was the violence and everything like that. So, what would get you interested again?
I just think there needs to be more diversity. One issue that I find a lot, I know this is going to sound really cliche, but there's not a lot of strong female characters in video games, and I wish there were. I remember I used to watch my parents play Tomb Raider a lot, actually. My mom and dad used to play that together, and I thought that was super cool. And Lara Croft, she was super, super cool, and that was awesome. But you don't see many Lara Crofts, and I think that would be one aspect, because I don't always want to play as some big buff guy carrying a gun. That's just not me.
Yeah, there's kind of a lot of generic, slightly grizzled white guys.
Gears of War.
Exactly. So I think that would be an issue. And like I said, just having more games that are just fun. I'm not even trying to get into the debate of whether or not people think video games affect violent kids or not. It's just not something that I'm interested in. So I just wish there was more diversity on the market.
Yeah.
That's actually a fair point. But I actually think you'd be surprised how many strong female characters that there are. I think that's
increasing lately.
I think the thing that's really, really troubling you is the lack of strong female leads. There's a lot of strong female characters in games, but not too many where you're playing as the female.
Yeah. No, I specifically mean leads. Like on Tomb Raider, you could be like, I'm going to be Lara Croft. Like, and that's awesome.
Have you seen the newest Tomb Raider game?
No, actually, I haven't. I'm so out of the loop.
Yeah, they did like a reboot of the series recently. Really well done game. A lot of great writing. Lara Croft is kicking ass, as always. But they do a very good job of having it be like her first adventure, where this is her first time getting super.
Beat up.
Basically, it's her going through hell and coming out this supreme badass that she is.
And she's not
awesome.
like over sexualized, like wearing like short shorts or
none of that.
Big breasts.
No,
she's like looks really normal, to be honest. She's like wearing pants, and she honestly is gorgeous the way she is, and she looks real instead of like the fake CGI model.
I hate that.
Yeah, I was really impressed with, and this shows you the sort of gamer I am. I was so impressed at the hair physics in that game because it looked real instead of a bunch of sheets of plastic.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. I'm gonna have to check it out.
Yeah, no,
it's available.
However, if violence bothers you, this game doesn't pull punches.
Yeah.
Huh.
It's kind of hard. It's kind of hardcore.
It depends. Like, I'm not a Call of Duty girl. Like, I don't want to like sit around and shoot at people. It like has to be strategic violence. Like, if it's violence for the sake of like, I don't know. I guess you can argue that Call of Duty has
a good motivation.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's not like running around gunning people, but it's like at least with Lara Croft, she's trying to be crafty or trying to again sneak around,
kill or be killed.
Or
I want there to be a plot.
No, this definitely has a plot.
She's trying to survive.
So.
We're probably going to give you some suggestions of games that you might like down the line if you do choose to get into gaming again at any point. But I think the big question is to ask, if you were a gamer, what kinds of games or which games do you think you would play?
Like games that exist or games that I'm making up?
Things that you've heard about that have kind of piqued your interest.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I know a lot of people who play video games, but I feel like I don't like know the names of the games they play. I like sports games. I'd probably play those. I used to be really into Madden for a while, actually, too. And I stopped playing because my brother forbid me from playing with him because I would always win just by pressing buttons. So, but I used to like that. Man, I'm trying to think. I don't even know if I know of any games recently that have come out that I would play.
To give you a second to think, in that vein, I love playing like the crappy like WWE games because of how detailed their create a character thing is. You can make this abomination, and it looks this like completely inhuman thing. And then you've just got them fighting each other. There's the amount of universal comedy in it is incredible.
I don't know. When was the last time you played video games?
Me?
Yeah.
Like as in regularly years, but as like in for fun, like maybe a week. But just
okay.
It was like the first
what was
time.
that? What was that then? Because it sounds like you were just playing for fun. Was it a social experience? Like, were you with friends?
Yeah, I was just playing Grand Theft Auto. Yeah.
So you seem to be still playing, you're not a hardcore gamer, you still seem to be playing games on a social occasion.
Yeah,
right?
I'm like intrigued by them. I just like wish I was thinking about that. I think what I would really like to see is like a reboot of like retro games. Like I want to see, I hate that I can't play a lot of my like PlayStation 1 games anymore. I play those all day. They're great.
Yeah.
I don't need the fancy graphics.
I don't know. There have been a bunch of like sort of reboots or remastered editions of said games, and a lot of them are either available on like the new consoles or even on like computer systems.
When
And
I
it's
see
kinda nice.
Parappa the Rapper, that's when I'll be excited. But that does not exist yet. So I'm holding out hope
I'm gonna look on GOG right now, see if I can Parappa the Rapper.
right now.
So I've got a couple of games that you might like, which would be suggestions from me. You said you like the puzzle game, and you probably like things that are social experience. There's two games that I'm going to suggest to you. The first one is Rock Band, or one of the Guitar Heroes, or something like that. Always a social experience, especially with Rock Band. It gets into more than just guitar. You get to do drums, you get to do singing, things like that. As far as the puzzle games, the ultimate puzzle game, and I'm going to be right on Eric's door with this, is Portal and Portal 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those, yeah, my friend, especially with Portal 2, it gives you the chance to be able to play with your friends. And unfortunately, my friend was an asshole to me. He constantly spammed me or got me killed because it's a game that really requires trust.
Yeah, it's one of
And
those games where you have to work together, and if one person is faffing around and screwing with you,
yeah,
it's a great game if you've got someone you want to it's a great game if you want to mess with someone.
It really tests relationships. That's for sure.
Oh, it can be a
Oh,
friendship.
gosh.
It can be a friendship killer or the best thing ever, like depending on how seriously people take it.
I take games very seriously when I play though. Like I'm super competitive about board games.
Yeah,
It's like, ooh, it's bad. I'll do anything.
Connor, do you have a recommendation?
I need to think.
Yeah, I'm sort
Wait,
of.
I have a question for you guys.
Yeah.
Have you any of you ever played the game Fibbage?
Fibbage.
Yes,
love
I know what you're talking about.
It's
Yes,
so good.
that's a fun
That's
social
the best
game.
social game.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's actually it's sort of
Okay,
like
so basically, Nick, you're given a prompt, and everyone has to come up with a lie, like a fake answer to the prompt that's either funny or you think people will fall for, and the game will put in a lie as well as the correct answer.
I would be terrible at that.
You get points for lying well, or getting the correct answer.
I would be terrible at it.
I know it's such a hilarious game.
Like-
it's hard, but it's so good.
Yeah.
It-
So some people were playing it, and the question was what city did Saddam Hussein get honorary citizenship to in 2004? And it was Detroit, Agrabah, and it's just a bunch of really great out there answers. It's a great time, especially after people have had a beer or two.
Exactly.
I had a margarita.
Yeah.
You should go play.
Cinco de Mayo.
I unfortunately did not celebrate Cinco de Mayo. I should do that. I don't know. A few ideas I do have myself. So you say you're into strategy games, right?
Mhm.
I don't know. Sort of like a interesting, sort of like considered to be a good strategy game is called Sid Meier's Civilization 5. Have you heard of that?
No, but I'm typing it right now.
It's basically kind of like you start off as a nation, like an actual real nation. So it'll be like, oh, you're the United States, and you basically take turns to build your country, and you sometimes get involved with fights with other countries, and sort of it's a building over time. But it's also seeing how your nation progresses or how it develops over the years. So that's sort of a really interesting strategy game. It does take a long time to get through one game, but it's so much fun to see fighting these other nations, along with maybe sort of a good story, but also at the same time sort of strong lead characters. The Walking Dead's from Telltale. The first season you play Christopher Lee. You play Lee.
Lee
I was gonna
Everett.
say- I was gonna
I like
say-
Lee
that
Everett,
before.
not Christopher Lee. Jesus Christ.
I mean, well, he's got that deep booming voice just like Christopher Lee.
Yeah,
so
but Christopher Lee's a freaking 90-year-old British dude. He's a fucking wizard.
But anyways, with The Walking Dead, it has this really awesome storytelling aspect where whatever events occur in each episode, it affects what continues on to the story. And it's particularly season 2, you play a young girl named Clementine, who used to be guarded by Lee, But unfortunately, she has to survive on her own, and it's kind of interesting to be changing that story perspective and happen to be playing Clementine through this zombie scene or events disaster.
Yeah, I'm a cheater. I've played that before.
You did?
Yeah, I have. But I didn't like it because it was like really like eerie and it made me sad, and I didn't like playing as her.
Fair enough.
Just nothing sad. Nothing sad.
Okay.
That's why I used to stick to The Sims. That was nice and easy. Except when the Grim Reaper came around. That was depressing.
So anything relating to death seems to make you sad.
Yeah.
It makes you grim.
Yeah.
Well, I was going the route of finding games with female main characters. So I think what I'm going to end up recommending, since you said kind of in the same vein as Portal, is Mirror's Edge.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a game based. There's not really much in the way of action. It's a game based on a lot of on like parkour or free running, where you can white with like very vivid reds. And yeah, you do have your silent female protagonist, whose name I'm trying really hard to remember because I haven't played this game in a couple of years, and I know that doesn't. Faith Connors. That's her name.
Okay.
Faith Connors.
All right.
Yeah, no, it's a solid game. It's got a lot. It's not the most intuitive sometimes in terms of the free running stuff, but solid game. And my girlfriend swears by it. So.
All right. Good to know.
Okay.
Well, thank you for joining us, Dallas, and we hope to hear from you next time.
Yeah, no problem. I'm going to try out some of these recommendations. Thanks, guys.
Yep.
Of course.
Good having you.
All
Have
right,
a good
bye-bye.
day. Bye.
You too.
Or night.
Okay, so those are the only two people that I had lined up to do actual in sort of on Skype interviews with us. But I did get a number from talking to people online, namely Emily Jung, who wanted to be here but couldn't.
That's fine. At least we got her.
From New York City, currently over in Montreal.
I watching the fucking show last night. It was great. But continue.
She says that she's definitely not a gamer, but she likes Mortal Kombat, the cutscenes from Kingdom Hearts, the piano collection from Kingdom Hearts, and that one song from Donkey Kong. She also said that she finished a 102 Dalmatians game back in the day.
Oh, I think I remember that game.
And, you know, when asked why she chooses not to game, she says she guesses it's a little bit of a time and money thing. She'd rather go for a walk, watch TV, and she'd also rather spend money on things like nice dinners, clothes, saving. At least at this point in her life, it's not that she's against gaming. It's that she thinks she could get into it. She just hasn't been ready to invest the money and the time in it.
Especially given the on the road lifestyle right now, yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
Given it's not her go-to format for entertainment, I was interested to see what would make it more appealing, and she said that honestly it is appealing. If she could find a cool portable system, she might be willing to invest. And that's actually, I said that was actually funny because there are portable systems out there that have some really fun games.
Not to mention how there are also iPhone games. They're not like, the best quality, but yeah, when you think of gaming can still relate to your iPhone, which again, a lot of people are just carrying 24 hours.
But it was also ironic in the fact that when I said that there were really fun portable games,
She was interested.
well, not just that, but when I asked her if she was a gamer, what kind of games she would play, she responded, Pokemon and adventure games. And that
was going to be one of the things I was going to suggest.
And that is like directly up DS and 3DS alley, which is the 3DS costing $200. A used DSi is only about $50 now at a GameStop. And each of these games that you can get for those systems are $35 to $40 and under.
they've definitely gotten expensive.
That
Yay.
that's cheaper in comparison to what we spend on PS4 and Xbox One and things like that.
Or
That's
the
true.
gaming PC I fucking built. Jesus, the money I invested in that.
Yeah, it definitely seems like, especially for portable, the 3DSs are definitely taking hold. I don't know that many people that have a PS Vita that often. Everyone has the 3DS.
I know only like a couple people aside from myself who own a PS Vita. And I bought the PS Vita for one game, and I only play the one game.
Yeah.
But this is actually a response I expected a lot, which was that people would rather spend their time and money on different things than video games. It's something that I kind of expected.
Yeah. I mean, everyone has those particular interests, whether, I don't know, supposedly, like, I'd rather pay money to, I'm trying to think of something, like, again, whether it's to play pool or play, just like to, again, maybe do some exercising stuff, or to, like, invest in, like, car modeling, or, like, those little model cars that people make. So there are different forms of entertainment. It's just that, I don't know, a lot of people that play video games do have to spend a lot to try to play a new game, I suppose.
All right, so the second person that I got was Caroline Pedraza over in the Philadelphia area. And she is not a gamer. And when she was asked why she doesn't play, she said she just never really got into it. She didn't grow up playing games, and she played very infrequently with her friends. She was never very good at any games she played, so it kind of discouraged her. So that's something that I also kind of expected would be the case in a lot of these cases, is that people just miss it. They just don't really get into it from the start, and then they don't get into it later in life.
I also think it might be like given opportunities to play them, because like, we hear stories from Dallas and shoot, I'm blaming the first girl, where they said like, we played Kingdom Hearts, we played PS2, which a lot of people did buy PS2s, but like how some people like their parents didn't want to give them like a video game console to play with. I knew like for one of my friends, it took him a long time to like get not only like a PS2 game or Xbox 360, but his parents were like so like they only wanted to play games where he wasn't killing humans. It had to be like either monsters or aliens, but not humans. So I feel like that is also the other thing, is like the parental guardians that allow people access or give them consoles.
So going along with our three general questions that we've been asking, other than, the more in-depth stuff when we've been talking with people on the air here, when she was asked what would make it more appealing, she said that it's actually hard to say. She just doesn't have an interest in this type of gaming. She prefers board games. She sees them as a more interactive and entertaining form of gaming. And it's actually interesting because of how immersive video games really are today.
Yeah, but here, like, there's one thing that I can say as someone who's a pretty regular player of, like, Dungeons and Dragons, which is video games are super immersive, but they will never match the interactivity of something like D&D simply because the story can be made entirely spontaneously based upon your actions. It's something you can't really code.
And I can imagine, like, I've never played D&D before, but from stories I've heard where, like, friends just gather the night, they order pizza, and then they start, like, starting the story, and sometimes even, like, have their computers to type out a story or, write the story as the game progresses. So I definitely can imagine that is definitely a much interesting aspect, or, like, way to play some sort of entertainment without any electricity, I suppose.
Okay.
Yeah, I can see where she's coming from just based on my personal perspective, but video games are a lot more immersive than people do give them credit for in general.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last question, which is which games or kinds of games she would play if she were interested, is that, and she had a really tough time with this one, she doesn't really have an answer for us. She says that she doesn't have an interest in playing video games, if she's being honest, and while she likes the classic ones on N64 like the Pokemon games and Mario, she just doesn't find them all that entertaining. And you know what? That's okay. Not everybody cultivates this interest.
Yeah, that's fun. Each to their own.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's simple enough. People have particular interests, as I said, so, you know, you find an interest maybe is like, oh, I like baseball, but I don't like tennis. So I guess that's kind of like same. I like watching TV more than playing video games. So levels of interest.
So the third person that I got was Nikki Valentini. She was probably on her job at the moment. She's I think she's part of a fire department EMT sort of thing. So she's a non-gamer, and the thing about it with her is that gaming doesn't interest her in any way, shape, or form. And there's no games that she really finds entertaining or that she can relate to.
Relate to? That, well, okay, so like it almost sounds very similar to Carolyn Pedraza, but how like, that little quote there that there aren't that many games that she can relate to, that's definitely what's intriguing me.
Yeah, and that's actually what I thought too, and I asked how it could be more appealing. And she says she thinks a lot of it has to do with the stigma that's attached to being a gamer. For example, being a gamer isn't usually seen by the general public it's seen by the general public as being antisocial, awkward, dorky. And maybe if there wasn't such a negative stigma attached to being a gamer, you'd have more interest in it. Also, maybe find a game that's not geared towards women. Most games are sports related or usually geared towards men. And that's what her opinion was initially when I was interviewing her. Mm-hmm. But as I sort of showed her things that are actually going on in gaming, that gamers are actually the most active people that you're going to find, and also that on
or even like big athletes or celebrities, like especially like all those like league competitions that go on. Everyone cheers
like
those
StarCraft is a televised sport in Korea.
And, well, also on the record, it's been shown that more than half of gamers are women.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So it just goes to show you that not everything that the public thinks of us is necessarily true.
Yeah, I feel like it's a very vocal minority. Not the women in gaming, but the people who give that bad reputation.
Yeah, I can imagine, especially how like, you know, media like sort of portrays video games as like, oh, people again make them antisocial or make them violent. Like that's definitely what has caught like a big approach or sort of like what's been in the news about video games, for sure. Yeah. And I can imagine they aren't reporting that much about the big competition going on between different league teams trying to win thousands of dollars. Mm-hmm. So it's more of the controversy that video games bring.
Well, when the thing that I asked her last, you know, it's what games she would play. She says that she doesn't necessarily have any sort of... She likes the games where you don't really have any sort of mission to complete or where you don't necessarily have to think about it too much. It's just kind of those mindless games. She's harping on Grand Theft Auto and Tony Hawk. So
Tony Hawk.
I like that Grand Theft Auto is like the default let's just fuck around game.
Yeah. Say about like I don't know, other sort of like mindless entertainment games which can be repetitive, like Guitar Hero. What about that?
See, I think that has a lot of a physical component. I don't think she would really want to do that much thinking. She just wants something where there isn't any sort of mission that she necessarily has to complete. I think what would be really, really good for her are probably a lot of those big open world games where it's up to you to choose what you do. Something along the lines of Elder Scrolls or something like that would be actually kind of perfect for this, because you can choose to be a woman or a man. It's not geared towards any one gender.
Thoughts, Connor?
I'm still collating information here. That's probably not the correct term, but I used it anyway. I'm sick. Give me a break.
That's sorry. I know. I'm like trying to think. Okay, so she's wanting a really simple game that doesn't really have a mission or anything to do. The only one I could think of is just like the impossible game, where all you're doing is just trying like not touch the red zone, or I don't know. I'm
What about
trying to think of
Portal?
something that
What
Portal.
about just Portal?
Oh wait, I got better. Got better. Minecraft.
Yeah.
Oh
okay.
yeah, you're right. Yep.
That's pretty good.
I've never seen a more pointless game in my lifetime.
Yep.
I love it though. Like, I've built so much wacky shit in that game just because I feel like that game, more than any other game ever, sort of activates like your inner attention deficit, because you just have this idea. You have all these ideas, and you just go on autopilot doing thing after thing after thing after thing after thing after thing, and then it's 2 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
See, I did that with Skyrim when it came out. The very first night it came out. I skipped class for that.
Nick.
Uh,
Yeah, and I'm really trying to think big immersive games. I know, like, maybe Saints Row, especially the lair ones, where you could just do goofy, crazy stuff in an open world that might be appealing, but that's also kind of like that realm of, like, mindless, violent games. So I guess maybe that's not the good choice right there. Shoot, I'm really trying to think of one.
well, I also think that Saints Row is very geared towards men.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
That's true too. But you could also still make your character
Although
male
I
or
will
female, or
I
don't know.
will say it is one of those situations where like machismo is the punchline. Like, it's so over the top, like testosterone, that it's a joke.
Eric, you can use a dildo as a weapon.
I know. I played the game. I played that game. It was weird.
Yeah.
It was hilarious, but weird.
The next person that I had was Chelsea Weiss, Boston, Massachusetts area. She wouldn't consider herself a gamer, but she loves video games. She grew up playing Super Nintendo, N64, GameCube, Sega Dreamcast, so she's really, really partial to those older games.
Yeah, sounds like it.
And why she doesn't play is that she doesn't play now mostly because she doesn't have the time, and she hates sitting for long periods of time. If she's at a get-together and somebody has Super Smash Bros. Out, though, she can't say no.
So it seems like we have another sort of portable game person, maybe.
Possibly, but I feel like it's almost the exact opposite of what Nikki was talking about, where she'd like to sit and be... Or Nikki wants to sit and be mindless. Chelsea doesn't want to have to sit down for a long period of time.
Yeah. That's definitely an interesting twist. So definitely, I don't know, like, as a recommendation, probably not those, like, big open world games like Skyrim.
Oh, God, no.
Where you have to invest hours upon hours. Heck, even Borderlands, I'm still playing it, and I don't even know how many hours I'm in it, and I'm not even done with the pre-sequel.
I spent 103 hours on frickin' Dragon Age Inquisition.
Yep, that sounds about right.
I still actually need to play more than 2 hours of Dragon Age Inquisition.
It's good. It's good.
I don't, like the Dragon Age games. They've always been okay, but they've always failed at making me give a shit about anything in them.
Fair enough.
So what would make it more appealing to Chelsea is that she can't get into the games they have out now. She doesn't find she doesn't really like the role-playing games all that appealing, which is what she mainly sees coming out. Unless it's GoldenEye. I don't see that as a role-playing game, but
Yeah, that's a little...
We may need to ask her to define her term a little bit here.
Yeah.
Because most games coming out these days have some amount of role-playing elements to them.
Immersing your character to
because-
the mythos of the land.
Yeah, because, like, even having like a skill tree for your character is a role-playing element. Like, I'd say go for casual handheld games, Pokemon or adventure games.
But even those have an element where you have to spend a lot of time leveling up your character or your Pokemon and things like that.
Yeah, but here's the thing. It's a casual as hell game. Save any time, stick it in your pocket when you're tired, play it on the go.
When you're on the toilet.
Yeah, it's not one of those games where you're like playing and you want to go do something, but it's like, oh, well, it's another like 20 fucking minutes to the next checkpoint. You don't have that concern. It has a lot more pick up and go ability, and because it's a pocket-sized thing, you can take it out and play it during your commute or something.
So then the games that she might play, and maybe this will flesh it out a little bit more for us.
Yeah, maybe.
She says the ones that she would play are mostly single player, and she's at an age now where gaming would be something like a board game, where video games weren't around. What did people do? They played board games. She needs the multiplayer stuff. She wants to see less role-playing games. She likes to play Mario Party, Super Smash Bros., Mario Kart, GoldenEye, Perfect Dark, Crazy Taxi, Jet Set Radio, Sonic, Star Fox, Bring Back Star Fox. She loved that.
Bring back Star Fox.
Crash Bandicoot. She could keep going. It was her childhood. Video games to her are basically just nostalgic now. So I think a lot of short burst games would be good for her. Something like shooting games where if all you want to do is play the online component and just shoot people for fun and go away, that's almost dead perfect.
I'd say if she gets like Counter-Strike, a lot of the mods made for that, things like the hidden or prop hunt, are good for like one or two things, very amusing. But if you want nostalgia, pick up a 3DS, and you've got a Star Fox 3D.
That's true too.
Ooh.
Also probably a lot of fighting games too.
Yeah.
So like get into the Mortal Kombat, get into, I don't know, Dead or Alive, get into Soul, get into all those sorts of things.
Dead or Alive, though, that's really
That's dude centric. But
they're the pioneers in boob jiggle physics. Like,
that's true.
That's something that I feel like needs to be mentioned.
Yeah, don't do that if you're searching for a feminist aspect to games. And now I think this is the last one that I've got, and it's I think the only male gamer that I was able to get, or not a male non-gamer. And that was actually something that I was trying to avoid because I don't want to make it seem like women are the only ones who don't game.
Yeah.
But it's Steve Selwa from the Chicago area, and the reason he doesn't play games is he's just more into TV, movies, and other media.
Hello?
Eric, we can still hear you.
Oh, okay. You guys weren't responding for me for the longest time, so I wasn't sure if my mic was in or not.
I'm guessing not. But
Okay.
he says he guesses as a performer at heart. It's kind of those sort of productions that were in TV, movies, and other media, which he can more easily emulate.
So he's going for cinematic games, it sounds like, right?
Well, that's the thing, is that I said that it was interesting that he brought up that performance aspect because there's always voice actors that are going to be needed for gaming.
And not to mention how there's been a lot of video games that have been introducing a lot of motion capture work that makes, character movements along with their acting even more real.
No, there's definitely more performance in video gaming than ever before, and it's something that's only becoming more and more integrated as time goes on.
Mm-hmm.
What he said when I said that was, he says that he knows you can take a voice and faithfully animate it to represent the expression, but he appreciates it more all coming together in one instant manifested in one person. I'm not exactly sure what he means by that.
Like, is he saying? Well, again, is he just only talking about like just voice acting, where you're just in a booth and you're just recording instead of like actually having to put on sort of like those like dot suits to be on a virtual stage with other characters like also in suits? That might be like, is that what he's wanting to
See, I think that he's more comparing video games to the TV or the movie, where it's becoming the character yourself as opposed to simply voicing the character. So I think he likes the whole acting aspect. He likes to do the movement. He likes to be in the costume. He likes to become the character as opposed to being inside the booth and trying to mimic the expression.
So wait, what? So he wants to be. So he's into RPGs.
RPG seems like the one that would be most likely, but let's move on to the next questions here so we can nail that down.
What would make games more appealing to him, he says, are shorter, more compact stories without losing characterization and plot. His attention span kind of runs short, so apparently these huge epic games aren't kind of what he wants.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So short, cinematic, really performance-giving game that's short, or at least keeps the attention span, right?
Yeah, and he says the games or sorts of games he would play that's where the problem lies. He doesn't want to get into more lengthy story-based games. Well, never mind. I'm sorry, I've twisted his words around.
I was going to say.
He wants to get into the more lengthy story-based games and the survival horror games, but he just doesn't have the attention or the time for it.
Well, again, I feel like as much as like it's weird for me to say, for his appeal, it seems to be like those very linear games where you don't really have that many options to like choose from, and you go through a simple story arc. That almost seems like what might intrigue him. Because if you're like making choices through a game, sure, yeah, you're able to like see how this game progresses, but I think that might make the game a little longer, if you know what I mean.
Not necessarily.
I don't know. This is my thought. Or
I have 3 or 4 in the hopper, ready to go.
Go for it.
Is there still the question of what would make it more appealing for him, or no? He said that.
No, he said that already. He said the games that he would probably want to get into, but can't for lack of attention span or time, is the lengthy story-based games and survival horror. So I think what we're looking for are short story-based games. Maybe with a survival horror aspect to them.
Okay, Walking Dead Telltale. Boom.
Right there, yeah. That's what I was thinking.
Game is played in 2-hour increments, 10 hours overall,
with different episodes, at least.
Yeah. But yeah, it's 2-hour episodes out of a 10-hour whole, so you can pick it up, do it in small chunks, without really losing your attention, because each one is a contained story. And then you have, Season 2, if you want to continue playing. The other thing I was going to recommend is not Destiny, Journey for PS3, which is a very short 2-hour game, gorgeous game, which builds a very interesting world and story, and evokes these very intense emotional reactions, all without a word of text or dialogue. It's a fucking art.
So yeah, I mean, even the Game of Thrones Telltale game would be pretty good right there.
Oh, I'm loving that.
Would Last of Us be too much, do you think?
That would be
way too much.
That's like 20, 30 hours.
I don't know. One game, maybe, again, as I recommended before, Valiant Heart, that sort of like has some interesting action along with some comedy with some heart in it. And it literally only took me like a day or two to finish it.
I'm trying to think here. Maybe, I don't know how much you guys put into it, but definitely not Arkham City, but maybe Arkham Asylum.
I feel that's maybe a little too. It's even more than Last of Us, I think.
Nah, I wouldn't. I don't know if I'd put it that far, but if he's looking for like story driven, there's better places to go.
That's true, but at the same time, it's one of those things where it didn't take me long to beat Arkham Asylum. It's one of those things where if you want to go off and do the side stuff, go ahead, but this main story isn't going to take you that long to finish. And it's Batman. Who doesn't love Batman?
I'm kind of burnt out on Batman right now.
Fair enough. I'm just thinking Last of Us because, again, it does have that very linear story with, like, compelling action scenes and, like, cut scenes. So that's just my thoughts.
I think anything with real-time event action would be...
I mean, QuickTime?
Yeah, QuickTime. QuickTime event action, that would be pretty much up the alley.
Yeah, something to, like, make those cutscenes really...
Reaction-based, it really keeps your mind going like, oh shit, there's a problem.
Yeah, I need to do something. Yeah, that makes
sense. So like a Platinum game, maybe Metal Gear Rising?
I actually have never played any of the Metal Gears, so I can't really say.
Metal Gear Rising
definitely does a good job with those QT scenes.
Metal Gear Rising is one you don't necessarily have to have played the others to get into. It's just... Those games are fucking crazy in the best way. Like... I fucking arm dragged a giant robot and threw a motherfucker. Like, you do some pretty insane shit. And also, that game is really cool because it does something... Because most games, when you have a sword, it just does damage. But you can actually cut through pieces of the environment and move. Like, if there's a fence in your way, you can just chop it down and keep going.
As far as the survival horror, though, I think he's kind of shit out of luck there, because you do need to be on the top of your toes and have a huge attention span, especially when you're trying to look into those goddamn dark corners.
I don't know, like one of the Five Nights at Freddy's games?
I mean...
No comments.
I mean, maybe he could play Slender?
I thought of the same thing, but I don't know, Slender never got me in any way.
It was like a fun game to play, but then it's just like, okay, whatever. That was it.
Alright, fucking Squidward's here to poke me. Like...
Okay. I never heard that.
I don't know, it never scared me in any way.
Anyway, that's it for tonight on the Game Corner. We're going to have some more stuff that's going to be going on sometime soon. We're going to be talking about the AO rating at some point. And for everyone here at the Game Corner, I'm Nick Jerzak.
I'm Eric Jaworski.
And I'm Connor Jordan, and hopefully next time we do this, I'll actually have my voice completely.
Good night, everybody.